Welcome back to the second part of Murder with Friends. Today I'm joined by Jason Carter to discuss the murder of Selena, and where you're picking up with us is March 30th, 1995. Now, within 24 hours, Selena will be shot, but where we're picking up, she is still with her friend trying to figure out the truth with all these lies that Yolanda has been telling her.
So here's what we know so far. Yolanda's been forging checks, stealing from Selena, stealing from the Quintanillas. Selena has the Selena boutiques that were supposed to open all across Texas and further into the country. Huge businesses.
Just a sidebar.
Yes.
How forward thinking was Selena in that? Because now we sort of take it for granted that like the Kardashians had Dash, you know, and if you are a big celebrity or you are a star, then you have a clothing line. But Selena was doing that and wanted to get that started because she had this interest in fashion way before that was just par for the course.
Again.
I just think that's really cool to know her business, her business mind, and then also her musical talents, just incredibly impressive. Gone before she should have been. Go on.
Trailblazer.
Yeah.
Trailblazer.
Yeah.
Genius. So she takes Yolanda. Dr. Yolanda Kim, she was raped. Come to find out she wasn't raped. So Selena's like, I'm done, wash my hands with it, you have to go. So later that night, her and her husband Chris Pettis know that Yolanda is in possession of some very pertinent and very important papers that they need to secure in regard to the businesses to make sure that no money's being hemorrhaged, that everything's on the up and up, because now you have this person that's behind the velvet rope, that's infiltrated every part of your life, that has access to things that could possibly be detrimental to you in the future. So Yolanda is at the Days Inn in Corpus Christi, near the airport. Corpus Christi.
It's a tongue twister.
Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi.
Every time I think of Krispy Kreme donut.
Crispy Corpus. Yep.
The blood of Christ, that's what it means in Latin. So Yolanda's there. Selena says to Chris, hey, I want to go and get some papers from Yolanda I think that we need for the boutiques. Will you come with me? Chris is like, absolutely, which I'm so glad that he did, in spite of what happens in 24 hours later, because for the longest time, reading this story, I felt that Selena needed like someone to, she seemed too vulnerable to me, because she was such a nice person. She was so open, she was so giving, she was so eager. I always felt like, girl, like no, like let me have your back, please. So I'm glad that Chris went with her. So she goes, Yolanda, there's no altercation. She asked for the papers. Yolanda gives her some of the papers.
But not all.
Not all of them, because again, when you're in a relationship that's breaking up, you want to hold on to as much as possible. And Yolanda this was a last ditch effort. She was chomping at the bit. She knew the jig was up. So what can I do to keep Selena in my life in any way, shape or capacity? So Selena secures some of the papers, gets back in the car with Chris, they go, boom, that's it.
I read, or I think I saw an interview with Chris where he talks about how Selena got in the car and just had this like stink face of just like, I didn't get all the papers that I needed and I'm gonna have to go back. And like at this point, on March 30th, she was done. And I think that's important to note, because we're gonna hear from what Yolanda says happened on March 31st right now.
What happened that morning when Selena arrived? Did she say she wanted to fire you?
Never. She never told me that. I was telling her to leave. And I said, it's over, Selena, it's over. I can't work for you no more. I can't work for you no more. She went down, she grabbed my feet and told me not to leave her. And I picked her up and I told her, just leave. And I grabbed the gun, put it in my head. I pulled the thing back. And I said, if you don't leave, I'm gonna do it, Selena. And she got up and she says, Mom, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. I'm gonna close the door. And when she was walking to the door, she was going at an angle. And I told her, don't close the door. And in that instant, the gun went off.
But why didn't it hit you?
Because I was pointing to the door and it just went.
Did you know she was hit?
No, I did not know.
There was blood along the door seal.
I didn't even look at the door.
But there was blood all over the room. How could you not see it?
The pictures that I see, they're dots.
All right, Jason, that is Yolanda's account of what took place March 31st, 1995. Now, police have disputed that heavily, and it was also proven, spoiler alert, at trial that that was not the case. So what did happen in that room?
Yolanda was infuriated. Yolanda was upset. Yolanda did not want Selena to disassociate herself in any way, shape, or form from her. And one thing to note is that when you have people like Yolanda Saldivar that are pathological liars, that are manipulative, that have obsessive behaviors, what they do is they take control of the situation. It's like if me and you were dating, Grace, you want to break up with me, I break up with you first, so I don't have to bear the pain of you leaving me. In this case, she felt like, listen, if I can't have you, Selena, no one will have you.
Yeah.
So Selena goes to the Days Inn alone, this time without Chris Pettis, her husband, because she, like as you said earlier, she felt she didn't get everything. There wasn't really closure there. Yolanda had given her a ring, a pearl ring that was a gift years ago, and Yolanda claims that she asked for it back. Selena didn't want to give it back. Which is ridiculous.
So many lies.
So many lies. But what happened was that yes, Selena was turning to leave. Yolanda shot her in the back. And after she shot her in the back, she called her a bitch. Now, a lot of people that were at the Days Inn heard that happening, heard Yolanda say that. There was 2 people, I think, that actually saw Yolanda come out of the room with the gun after having heard her call her a bitch. So that was proven. It's hard to say what's proven because it's all he said, she said, but more people have said that story.
Accounts.
Yes, have said that story.
I think if there's corroboration from multiple witnesses, which you absolutely have at this motel, this was during the daytime, and you see Selena, witnesses see Selena go into the lobby or the reception.
She runs across the courtyard, bleeding profusely. Now, the gunshot had severed an artery in her arm. That's why she was hemorrhaging blood quickly. She was running through the courtyard saying, I've been shot, I've been shot. She makes her way to the lobby of the Days Inn where she's greeted by the manager and one of the receptionists, Shauna Vega, I think, or Shauna Vela. And she's just there frantic and just disoriented. And
you can hear on the 911 call that Selena has consciousness, and you can hear her say Yolanda's name, and you can also hear her say her room number.
158?
Yeah, in her dying breaths, she is telling anyone that is around her, of which there are many people gathered. It's a chaos at the Days Inn right now. She's telling them, this is what happened, this is who did it.
And what's so infuriating about Yolanda's story that she told to 2020 and what she told for a long time was that Selena was the one begging for her not to leave. Selena was always the villain. Selena was the one who was the bad guy. And again, you don't bring a gun to a meeting with someone you love. I would never bring a gun to a meeting, to any kind of altercation with a coworker, my husband, my twin brother, my sister. Why? Why would you do that? So for Yolanda to say that it was an accident and she was gonna shoot herself and then she was doing this and the gun went off, didn't make any sense. And furthermore, there was blood everywhere.
Yeah.
There was blood splatter. How could you have not have noticed what was going on?
Well, because that's a good point to bring up, because what does Yolanda do immediately following the shooting? Does she, like, if it was truly an accident, as she says, the gun goes off, if it's me and I accidentally shoot my dear friend, I'm at their side, I'm yelling for help.
Or furthermore, if we want to get extreme with it, why didn't Yolanda take her life then? If that was the intent, if her intent was to end her life because Selena was leaving, becoming someone who could no longer give her access to this life that she had come to, that gave her existence essentially, then why didn't she take her own life?
I have an answer to that, but first, fill in the blank of what happens when Yolanda shoots Selena. Where does she go?
So Yolanda shoots Selena, she walks outside, has the gun, then she retreats to her truck.
Yeah.
For what seems, as we will find out,
Like
9 hours.
She's intercepted by police.
Yes.
And she's in this standoff with police for, let's round up and say 10 hours.
Sure. Sounds
it's like
good to me.
9.5, 10 hours
Right.
in this parking lot. And police swarm the scene. There's a hostage negotiator whose name is
Larry Young.
Yes. And then she's sitting in this car. She has the gun pointed to her head. Eventually, she gets out of the car. And then to answer the question that you asked before, which was why didn't she kill herself? She has asserted in interviews in a truly disgusting, depraved move that she heard the voice of Selena telling her not to kill herself, that she had to stay behind, and that Selena wanted her to live. And here's my take on why.
Well, and furthermore, also to add to that, her faith wouldn't allow her. She would not be able to meet her family members in heaven.
Oh, that's what it is. No, so that Selena was telling her, we won't be able to be together. We won't be able to meet in heaven if you kill yourself,
right.
because if you, she was Catholic, and if you shoot yourself, you go to purgatory. Now, this is my take on that. I think that Yolanda had this obsession with Selena that had reached its sinister boiling point. And she couldn't bear to have their lives separated.
Right.
So in the death of Selena, unfortunately, horribly, their names are now forever tied together.
I agree with that 100%. So many people also share that Yolanda.
It's so sick.
It's beyond Grace. Sick is an understatement for how effed up Yolanda Saldívar was.
Yeah.
But she was smart, and she was a smart woman. This was someone who came from meager, humble beginnings, that was a short, unattractive lady who was seduced and romanticized by the glamour, the beauty, the talent, the wit of Selena.
The welcome, like the hospitality, she had this warm, inviting nature about her, where maybe, if Yolanda felt sort of othered and to the side and overlooked for her whole life, and then you have this superstar that's looking at you.
Right,
and
validating your existence.
It drove her crazy that she could lose that. And it culminated in the murder of Selena, who is an icon. Now I want to end on sort of a lighter note, that love always conquers evil. I know this is a dark show, but we should remember that there are lighter sides. And something that I read in a New York Times piece that was released at the time was how fans of Selena, when they heard the news, just swarmed the parking lot, and they were playing tapes of her music, and they brought flowers, and they just gathered there to show their support and solidarity for the singer. And I think that's a beautiful image to take away from this, is that in the face of such hatred, Selena's fans and her message overcame that. And they said, we're going to drown out this hatred, the gross standoff. That's not the note that Selena is gonna end on. It's not gonna be this crazy woman in a car with a gun to her head.
Right.
It's gonna be with this beautiful music in this parking lot where something tragic happened.
I agree. I think that it was such a wonderful, beautiful thing that, Selena was an icon for a reason. She was a shining beacon of hope and an awesome example for the Tejano, Mexican, Chicano, Latino communities of someone who that they could identify with, Grace. Yeah. That was their sister, their tia, their cousin. It was someone that was homegrown, good girl done good. And so when she died, it was only right that they immortalized her and that they let the world know what she meant, because at that time, like many people, Grace, no one really knew who Selena was until after she died, which is sad. Posthumously, she became an icon and this huge, massive star. But until her death, yes, in the Tejano community, she was this queen. She was the people's performer. So for them, it was their way of saying, listen, world, we've lost someone that you should have known was amazing, but it's okay because now we're gonna make sure she's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna talk a little bit more about Selena's legacy in part 3, and we're also gonna talk about the crazy trial that took place for Yolanda after she shot Selena. So stay with us in part 3 because the story is not done.